Welcome to another episode of The Next Fix, where we're talking to people that have gotten sober in their life. They've turned things around. This is the comeback story we're looking for around here. Success stories are boring. Comeback stories are what we love. And we've got another story just like that from a friend of mine here, Ken Cox, a new adventurous author in the space. And he's gonna share with us maybe some of the dark times, and then, of course, the bright future ahead. So I'd like to welcome you, Ken. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And so, as we get to running our mouths always before we hit the record button, this is gonna be an exciting time. I think him and I are cut from the same cloth. And so, before I run my mouth forever, Ken, please, let the audience know, let myself know. Right? Like, so when did the wheels start falling off of this wagon? And when did you start looking around and saying, shit has hit the fan?
Yeah. So, I've struggled with addiction and substance abuse, violence and crime since a very early age, right? So we're talking 2-3 years old, growing up in a household that's absolutely insane. My first run-in with, the first time I had to go through AA was court ordered. I was 13 years old. Subsequently, around that same time, my adoption had just gone through, so I had just become legally Ken Cox. I got arrested.
Meaning you were in a foster home? Is that what that looks like? Okay.
Doesn't look like that for me. I'm in a home with my biological mother and a lot of stepbrothers and a stepsister and an alcoholic stepfather. Right.
That sounds like a fucking mess. And I'm just right.
Look, I wouldn't have had it any different. I loved my childhood for what it was. Lots of struggles. There's some key points from childhood, but we're going to fast forward way to now, right? Because the stuff that was going on in the 80s is nothing like what's going on now, right? Youth AA was different than it is now. They had a program called Tough Love that I went through at the age of 13,
Oh, wow.
All that stuff where lock the kids out of the house and beat them is the way to teach them.
Damn. I was thinking more like I was thinking about like the prison guard, like yelling at your face.
Yeah, okay. Like that stuff. The Scared Straight program, they called it Shock, 120 days. You'd sit in a holding cell, that kind of.
Oh my God.
Jazz, right? That was commonplace for me and the people I grew up around. So.
Right.
Fast forward way through that, right? So I'm now living a life of total highly functioning addict, right? I can go to meetings drunk. I can go to the police station drunk. I can do everything in my life totally hammered.
So how old are you? How old are you here? Because we were at 13. You're putting in AA or this horrible programs that clearly didn't work, and now you are how old?
So now I'm an executive, I'm a vice president of a company. I'm doing data center stuff, appear to be successful, 38, married, kids, all that stuff. And I started gaining weight really bad. Like I was, 220 and I got right up to like 300 pounds. And, the moment that it changed everything, during the day, I operate data centers, and we had a data center in our downtown facility. I got called in the middle of the night, right? You get called in the middle of the night, I got to go. So I get there. There was something wrong with the generator or something. I don't even remember what it was, but we get done with all the work, and it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've got to do a couple follow-up calls with my stakeholders of the company, right? Just, hey, this is what happened. This is how we resolved it. Everything's done. Calm down and going home. Normally at this time, in St. Louis, we have 24-hour bars. I would have headed over to the bar and just drank until morning, right, to not wake the kids up, and just sat at the bar and had a great time until it was time to go back to work, which I would have normally done. But this week I was sick. I had strep throat a couple days before. And I was leaving the building that day. I just collapsed in our heat mitigation room, which is – imagine a 10,000 square foot room that just runs at about 110, 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, shit.
Heat from servers into this room, right?
Yeah.
So I go in there and I get dizzy. I lay down, and the next couple of days is pretty much a blur for me. But turns out I'm in the hospital, EKG machine. My heart rate's going up. It's dropping, going up, dropping, going up, dropping. Constant back-to-back panic attacks. entire time, the doc's like, you know what's going on? I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. He's like, your heart's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with your heart at all. We can't figure out what the hell's going on. Your blood pressure's shooting up. Your heart rate's going up. And I'd always been honest with my doc, right?
Right.
Always. And he'd asked me several times, like, are you still drinking? And I'm like, yeah, I'm still drinking. And then finally he asked me, he goes, when was the last drink you had? And I said, oh, it was about 3 days ago. I've had strep throat, right?
Right.
And it turns out I was deep in withdrawal. Like, that's where I was. I was going through it. I was having many seizures, the whole deal, right? Like, everything you can imagine. He's like, okay, you can this really concerns me. I've always known you drank a lot. I've always told you to quit, but this really concerns me. So he pulled the liver panel. I was in the 1800s for whatever that number is, that once you hit 2000, you're past, right? But I was in the 1800s. So he comes back and he says, well, you can go home and drink a beer and all these symptoms will go away immediately.
Right.
You'll be dead in 2 years, or we can quit now. Right. So I was 39 years old, 38, somewhere in there. So, okay, well, let's start quitting. Like, what's that look like? Because I never considered quitting. Like, it was, I told my wife, oh, one day, all that shit. But I identified, like, alcohol was who I was. It's what I did. Right.
So let me touch on something real quick, Ken, because I was just talking about this morning with a very unlikely gym partner of mine. She's a younger girl. And she knows something about me, but she looked at me and she knows I wrote a book about it and some things, but she looked at me and she said, hey, did you ever get the shakes? And I said, yeah, to put it lightly. And then I went over the exact process that you just spoke about. I said, I just kind of went off on her. I said, ironically, alcohol, when you quit drinking it and you drink a lot, one, it can kill you. And two, you don't see those really severe responses until about 48 hours in. And here you are, you got sick. Now you've been sober for 48 hours and you start hitting that 72-hour mark. And now you're like dangerously close to like seizures, death. I mean, what kind of astonishes me though is that you've mistaken those withdrawals for strep throat, dude. Like how did you not? You must have been like, man, this is a real bad bug,
No, I just didn't drink because I had strep. I was just relaxing at home. I didn't go to work, right? And I still wasn't feeling well. And then in the data center, when there's something wrong, adrenaline is through the roof. Like you're pumped, right? Like I'm dealing with voltage at 480. I've got customers, airlines, and hospitals, and everything that's on the brink of having a problem. And my adrenaline was just up. And when that adrenaline dropped that night,
you fell to pieces.
It damn near killed me.
So I just wanted to address that because I think that by my conversation this morning, it's like there's so many people, and I know a lot of my audience is like, people that are familiar, but damn, I couldn't say it enough to people like, hey, here is cocaine, opiates, all these things. I mean, now obviously like there's drugs that can kill you by overdose, but I'm talking about withdrawal specifically. And so, if you quit doing cocaine or you quit smoking marijuana or you quit painkillers, like you won't die. You'll feel like you're going to die, but you won't die. And so, like I said, I can't say it enough because it's such a wild, it's a conundrum because it's the legal thing and it's more lethal than I think people know. But all right, so back to the story here. The doc looks you dead in the eyes and he's like, hey, this ain't going to cut it. And so you have a decision to make.
Yeah. So right then that decision was super easy. Right. And now Dr. Poets, he's passed away now. God love him. He was an older doctor and I had been with him for probably 7 or 8 years at the time. And he's like, boom. And he knows I'm a big guy. He knows I got tolerance. He puts me on a brick of Xanax a day. Like, just do this. He goes, I'll give you these for the rest of your life as long as you're not drinking. Right. Well, I hated the Xanax. Hated it. Withdrawal from Xanax was not as shitty as alcohol. I've had withdrawal from alcohol like 3 times in my life that I've had to go through. That one was hands down the worst, right? By a ginormous amount. So on the Xanax, and I had to go through withdrawal of the Xanax, a year later. Turns out I get my liver count back down to under 40. right? Now I'm a brilliant guy. I'm in my early 40s. And I'm like, I'll go to the doctor. I'll pay to have my blood work done. I'll get my liver counts. I'll, talk to the doctor. I'm like, hey, can I drink casually? He says, absolutely, you can drink casually. Drink casually. Watch my liver counts. It's this whole dark game with starts to go up. I stop for a couple of weeks and then back to it. Total freaking disaster, man. Just not good at all. Kind of manage it half-assed for a little bit and then have a really bad incident, right?
Right. When you say incident, are you talking like with your blood levels, or are you talking like you blacked out?
Oh, no, and it's not funny, but I tell the story like it's funny, and I told it to my wife like it was funny. So, I'm a lodge brother, and I wasn't drinking very much at all, right? Very occasionally, and I kind of had half-assed permission from the doctor. If you can control it, you're good, and, have always talk with the wife, very candid, very open, honest, right? I'm high functioning. I can deal with this, and I negotiate for a living. So right. I can negotiate these things. And I go out one night, and this is not my rock bottom. This is not when I decided that's not when I flipped the switch, right? My flipping the switch, I don't think was a rock bottom moment. It was a moment, but not a rock bottom moment. I go out with some lodge brothers because they're in town. We go out to this little biker bar. We're hanging out. Next thing, and then it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're doing coke in the garage at the clubhouse, right? Like just stupid shit that 40-year-old men shouldn't be doing, right? And then going home and telling my wife, I accidentally coked last night because I got too drunk and didn't realize what I was doing,
Accidentally. It just
right.
It fell into my nose. It was crazy. I was upside down.
I felt great that night, but it's not what I should be doing. I got kids, family, I got businesses, I'm running employees, like all this shit that is. But when the flip switched for me, I was to the point to where I wasn't drinking daily by far. I was casually drinking every now and then. I had gone, I'd go months at a time, and I would come up with these excuses like, if I'm out of town, I can have a couple of drinks. Right, is where I'm at in my moderation, and that's what I was doing. And I was in Orlando and having a great time. Had more than a couple, but no incident there. Get in my car, and I'm driving home a couple days later. Driving home from Florida because had all kinds of plane issues. Post-pandemic, planes are just a nightmare. It's easier to drive. Driving from back to St. Louis from Orlando, hit Georgia. Not thinking about anything, 97 miles an hour, get pulled over, I end up in jail. Right? They arrest me, they put me in Georgia jail.
Is this a DUI? Was this a DUI?
No. I am a medical cannabis user. I use it for sleep. And I had some with me. I have my medical card, but it's illegal in Georgia. And they have the super speeder stuff. So they arrested me, they locked me up, the whole 9 yards. Not like drunk tank holding, like Taylor County Jail. They booked me, strip search, delouse, give me my mattress. 2 weeks later, buddy, we'll see the judge. You're being held without bail because you're out of state and you're a super speeder and all this shit. So, long story short, I get out. Right, don't say 2 weeks. We negotiate. And we get out pretty, not the 2 weeks by far. I bought a beer that night. I was walking to find a hotel room. My car's an impound. I'm trying to find a hotel room. I don't have a belt. I'm walking around town like a freaking hobo. And I walk in the gas station. I buy a tall boy, and I walk out, and I literally take a drink, and I just pour it out. I'm like, this can't be me anymore. Like none of this lifestyle, none of it can be me anymore.
Right.
And, that moment, I just said, I've done flow coaching. I've done, hypnosis. I've done every training program that you can constantly imagine. I understand marketing at a very high level. So I understand a lot of that manipulation, mind trick stuff. And I just could never apply it to myself. And literally the second that I applied it to myself and I changed about who I was as a man and who I was as a person, everything started clicking properly across the board. Right. So, and then it just became so abundantly clear to me that all my meetings talking about, oh, I struggle with this, or identifying as an addict, or, going through the worksheets, and all those things are great. But until I can identify myself as a sober person, then every time I looked at a bottle, I was going to have some kind of trigger in my life.
Right. There's so many, my brain is pinging because I have so many similarities to this, and a lot of my thoughts align with your thoughts as far as like, about how it was just like, once I officially drew the line in the sand, like, but inside of me, right? Like, it's such a hard thing to communicate a lot of times because it's, you go on these podcasts and people want to know, and it's very convenient that you have an instance, or at least when you did make that decision. And, I think that maybe you're a little unorthodox with your approach. Maybe it's because you have such an extensive, like a catalog of knowledge about marketing and certain things like that. I think that's such a blessing because that extended knowledge can really be valuable. And I know it was for me too. Like I remember seeing guys in different men's programs as I was attempting to get sober. And I felt I would have some sympathy for the guys that like, they just like couldn't wrap their head around it. I could see that they were just like, man, they couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so, when you're talking about like doing these programs and doing the worksheets and stuff, like I look back on the value of those exercises and I remember doing them and thinking, this is bullshit. Like what the hell am I doing? And I go through the motions. I went through the motions. I'm doing that. I'm saying what they want to hear. None of that shit really matters until you have that, like, come to Jesus moment, or that point in time where internally there is that switch. Like once that lock is solved, or however the hell you want to word it, like it has to happen in there. And so it happens for you. And now you briefly touched on it, like things started to change exponentially in a positive direction.
Right. So one of the things that I do is one of my businesses is I own a boxing school, right? And totally unplanned, about 4 years ago, I started a youth boxing team. Straight out of any movie you've ever saw, kids showing up at my doorstep, I'm shoo, get out of here, kid.
I love it.
I got diagnosed with liver disease. I started boxing, right? I did Golden Gloves. I bought a title boxing club. Right, I'm like, I put myself into the boxing community, and that helped me a ton in the beginning, right? It started to not help as much later, but these kids came along about 4 years ago now. My timelines are screwed up. And I started a youth boxing team. And I then had to figure out how to take young boys and girls from off the street from just a regular person, maybe doing some fitness. Now they're going to box, they're going to get in a ring. They're going to compete in a combat sport in front of an audience, right?
Right.
So right away, I'm like, okay, these kids need core values. They need these things, right? Bam, 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 bam. And I got to change their mindset. I got to make these triggers inside their brains, right? To perform when they need to and all these things. Never applied that shit to myself, right? But now I'm training these kids here. So I started really taking a look at those core values that we created for those kids to bring them, and we call them gladiators. And in the Reclaim Sobriety book, we call it you're a gladiator, right? Your alcohol is your armor, and as you're getting sober, you're taking it all off, and you got to fight with nothing but a shield and a sword later, right? That's kind of the premise, and you have to have the right mindset to do that, to even walk out onto the field. So
right.
I took their core values and I aligned them with the 12 steps, and I kind of melded them together, took some religion out. If you want to be religious, great. And basically Reclaim Sobriety, 12 Steps of Sobriety is a giant toolbox framed different than you've seen in some other stuff. And some of my tools that I've created for myself, and one of them is a dopamine chair. Right, I had to create a dopamine chair in my life, and I've never heard anybody else say this. And the therapist that I talked to say, because I had to make decisions like this all the time in my life. I didn't have any kind of clutch mechanism that if I made a decision, I executed on it, because I had to know if it was going to fail, succeed, whatever, right? That's how I was built. But so when I would make a decision for bad behavior, I would just execute on it. So I literally had to give myself a chair between where I sit and my door. Say, anytime I make a decision to do anything, I got to sit in that chair for 2 minutes. Like, if I'm going to get up and go do something, okay, I'm going to sit down before I do that thing. I can give myself 2 minutes on any task that I'm going to go do compulsively. And I had to do that for like 8 months. And like,
dopamine chair. The dopamine
that's what I called
chair.
It. Yeah.
Right. Well, hell, man, I like I said, man, I thought that we were cut from the same cloth, and dude, I think I might need a dopamine chair. I'm not just like saying that because like you're a guest on my show. I'm dead serious. I pull the trigger so fast, and it's a gift. It's a gift sometimes, but it also bites me in the ass. And so like I could wholeheartedly use just a 2-minute little like breather, sit down till you purchase this, till you do that, till you call that person. How about you just relax, you know, get your head straight.
And you get to give yourself that dopamine rush of getting up and going to do something. Then you sit down, those dopamine receptors, you got to reduce some of them, right? As you start learning about the cognitive flow and how your neuroreceptors are working. And I'm not a doctor or scientist by anything, but I've read a lot, listened to a lot of podcasts and did a lot of research and taken a lot of classes to learn what I've learned about this crazy thing that is addiction. And I think it's different for every person. Everybody's journey is a little different.
Yeah, man. And dopamine also fascinates me. And I know that it's a term thrown around recently, like cheap dopamine, you know, that we get these hits of dopamine. And I have dove a little bit below the surface. I've gotten a little bit more deeper into trying to gain some knowledge about it. But it's so fascinating how much it actually affects our decisions, man. And I think that when I'm thinking about the dopamine chair and I think about a person that's in active addiction, you know, a very good solution, if it were possible, would be for an addict to just stretch their thoughts into the next few hours if after they make the call to the guy, right? So like if they were to just somehow say, wait a second, I know what happens when I call this person. I know what comes next and I'll feel great. But if I were to stretch my thoughts 3 hours past that, not so great, right? So like, I think that buying that time and kind of giving ourselves a little objective perspective of whatever situation we might be in, man, it's a genius, man. I love that. So I want to know more about this. So the book, it's obviously referencing 12 rounds. And I had asked you if it was an AA thing, so it's like it's a like an evolved
so
version.
I did my best to align the core values of a Box STL Gladiator, my boxing team, to the 12 steps, kind of loosely, because I think people are used to 12 steps, 12 rounds, seemed like a really good fit. You know, everything's correlated to a fight, because this is a fight. This is like, if you're going to go against your addiction and what your body's telling you to do, you know, you've got to be prepared and you have to have tools. It's easy to say, oh, you have to, you know, get your subconscious to understand that you're a sober person and embed those core values in your subconscious, because once you know, all that uneasy gut feeling of life is that you're doing something that contradicts your core values, right? And if you can really embed those into who you are, then it's really hard to relapse.
Yeah.
And that's what it had to be. It had to be hard for me to relapse, or I was going to. And identifying as an alcoholic and identifying as somebody that struggles with alcohol and aggression and compulsive behavior, right? It just gave me all these excuses to fail.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, and I'm like, all these groups are teaching me how to fail.
Right. Like that identity, the more, and this is the problem I had. It was a struggle for me with AA and the reason why I didn't go. Just saying I'm an alcoholic, I got sick of that, man, because I was like, every time I say it, I feel like I'm pouring concrete onto that person. So, yeah, man. So, all right. So you had the boxing school. It obviously influenced the framework that you've developed, right? And so, where are you at now? Do you still have that boxing school, or like what's going on? What's your
school? Love it. It is. in the top 10 most proudest things I've ever done in my life is bringing these boys and girls and getting them from awkward teenager and helping them usher through to be wildly confident but not arrogant.
Right.
Humans that are going to go out and lead this world is just so overwhelmingly gratifying that I can't believe how lucky I am as a human to be sitting and doing the things that I'm doing every day. It's just an absolute joy.
Did you compete yourself? Did you?
I did. I came in. I did Golden Gloves twice. St. Louis Golden Gloves Masters Division, which is just old people. It doesn't mean that we're good. It just means you're over 40.
The only thing I know about old people is that you're a survivor, and that includes me, brother. So
I got to the championship match in 2020, and I lost. And then I did 2022, and I won by walkthrough. My opponent didn't show up, so I got the championship in a way that I'd rather not have it, but I have it, so I'm going to own it and claim it. And be happy about it. So, but since then, the 2020 match, I've had two surgeries coming out of that fight. So my body was falling apart a little bit going in, and it knocked me pretty good. But so I'm a 3-1 boxer.
Hey,
got 2 wins and 1 loss.
That's to me, it's a winning record. I mean, what the hell, man? What are we gonna split hairs here? Yeah. I mean, hey, you're a winner, brother.
Yeah. But our team does really well. We've got about 60 kids on our team. We're one of the largest schools. We're like top 3 largest schools in St. Louis.
Dude,
so it's really nice.
That's a lot of kids, man. That's a lot of lives, brother. That's huge, man. Yeah, so amazing. And I'm like an MMA fan. I lived in Vegas for a while, and so I never fought, in a structured scenario. But like the guys that I knew, man, are just like you were saying, like they're not arrogant. They're not. It's the complete opposite. Trained martial artists, boxers, like they're the most calm person in the room, like 90% of the time. And so I really applaud you for like instilling that, the skill and the mindset that comes with like one-on-one competition. And there's so many glorious things that out of those 60 kids, the likelihood of like a handful of them having any kind of substance abuse or alcohol problems is probably very high, and you probably put a really big dent in that likelihood.
Yeah. And out of those 6, like maybe 8 of them are competing, right? So the vast majority of them are trying to get there, and about 8 of them are competing, at the amateur level.
Right. But that's still, it's still badass, man. And that's awesome.
And I felt really foolish teaching these kids how to navigate their emotions and stay calm to a positive relationship, all of these things every single day, and, operate in a world-class manner. And, it just, when I finally stepped back and looked at those and applied them to myself and, actually started coaching myself, because I didn't have a coach that could, the groups are wonderful for getting it to stop. Like, okay, I have to recognize I have this problem so that I can get it, so I can start the process of stopping it. But in my experience, they have not been a catalyst to stop relapse from happening. And they have not been a catalyst to live a happy, healthy, sober life, right? Almost the opposite of got to go to group, got to see, living for the chip or whatever. It's just not.
Right. It's not for everybody. I can say, and I'm one of those people. And I'll tell you another kind of person I am. I'm an author, so I'm super excited to hear about like when did the genesis of your book come about, and like what was like were you like, oh wait a second, it's working on me, it's working on these kids, I got to write it down, and then like how did that look for you to say like I'm gonna step out to the world and show them how this works?
Yeah, so I've written my entire life. I think I was 7 years old when I first got court ordered for therapy, and my therapist like, you got to write a page a day. right? Just get your thoughts out. And my handwriting's horrible. I can't write for shit. And if you get to know me, I moved to a computer at a very, very young age, and I don't really use handwriting very much. But I type and talk a lot. And, I had played around and like creating stuff. And I had one of my things that I did was I just sat in a room and I just vomited everything that I could remember for like 20 something hours. Right.
Right.
And I've got all that recorded and together. And I wrote the core values of a gladiator first. Right. And it was just clips about my life and things like that. And I sent it to my editor and he kicked it back. And this was 2 years ago. This was right before I got the jail incident in Georgia. And he kicks it back and he goes, either make it all about boxing, make it all about the liquor, make it all about you, but it can't be this, 4 rooms situation from Tarantino where every chapter is something different, right? And I was like, kind of like, screw you, I'm going to do what I want. And and I kept just, refreshing it and rewriting it and kept doing it. And I thought, maybe I should take my editor's advice and really give this a shot. And then for the past, I would say about a year and a half, I've been on that path of, and it's just now coming back out of edit, right? For release November 19th. And it's, it's going to be one of the works that I'm more proud of.
And you should be, man. But yeah. I'll tell you, I struggle with the editing too, man. Like the mind mapping and letting it come out of me. Like I was like blasting through this thing. And then somebody was telling me like, oh wait, what you did was wrong. And I took it personally and I got all kinds of butthurt about it. I didn't want to hear that. And I was paying you pay an editor,
yeah.
And I'm like, shh. I'm like, what the hell, man? I paid you all that money for you to tell me this shit. How I'm angry, it's, but definitely necessary for sure. But right. So have you gone down like the thought path, if you will, of like turning this into anything other than a book, or like what can we look forward to as far as like, is it going to be an Audible book? Is it going to be a course? Like what else do you have going on? As far as like
today,
the future?
And over the years, I've taken on very select handful of one-on-one clients, coaching kind of stuff, very small.
Right.
I have developed a small group coaching program, which I really am proud of too. It's a 4-week program. We no more than 5 men, private. Everybody's under non-disclosure agreement, so it's really built for high-functioning executives that are in pause, which. Once you start getting into the education process, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, I think is the catalyst moment where a man has to get through that or he's going to relapse. And, that was a huge challenge for me. And I think that's where my techniques and strategies really, really come into play. Pause is, I think it's impossible to diagnose, even though I have a diagnosis of it. Right. It's this weird bunch of symptoms that are just, really miserable to get through. And I think that's where the tools and the tricks that I have, and mind you, a lot of them are rephrased other coach stuff. Right. But some of them are unique to me. And, that's where I really think that I can help a lot is that high functioning executive that's in post-acute withdrawal syndrome. So right now I'm developing, actually by the time the book comes out on the 19th, the on-demand course is going to be available. So it's 8 videos, right, going through the gladiator structure, and you can download that. And if you buy the book, you're going to get that course for free, right? So you can go through it, but that would be the next step to, then if you wanted to be in one of my small groups, they're 4-week sessions, they're highly personal. And then what has been really, really cool about these small groups is I put them all under NDA, and they've stayed. Now they've stayed in different ways. Now they become their own community of men together in these small little pockets, and they support each other. I've created a Discord group for one of them. One of them does a Facebook group. Another one just has their text number. And they still talk and share because part of the healing is openly sharing. and doing that stuff. That's part of it, not all of it. And I think you can get away without it if you are really, really talented at meditation and some other techniques. But it helps tremendously. And it helps even more when you have men that have been through the same stuff that you've shared to in these groups, and you've got them to call on later in life. It's invaluable.
So are the groups, is this in person? In my mind, I see them all in this boxing gym.
No, it's in Zoom.
It's all virtual.
Yeah, it's all virtual.
Listen, I think maybe a little like an extended, more elite, like call them into the gym and just like run them through, because you getting a good sweat on and throwing a few punches can be valuable when you're fighting demons. Like the punches on the outside are also good for the punches you got to take, in the mind. And Absolutely, so that'd be a pretty cool idea. And also Discord, right? Like Discord is a young person's arena, man. That's pretty cool that you're.
That's what you want. I'll set it up for you. If everybody, I just tell them, say, hey, and I tell them in the pitch, right? When we're talking about, like, this is the goal, right? It's not just the 4 weeks with me. It's the 4 weeks as this group. We meet twice a week for 2 hours. We go over these worksheets and we tell you why you're doing the worksheets so that hopefully they sink in a little bit better, right? We do these things together, and then this group of men, it's not a requirement, right? They can kind of fade out as their own, but it's different whenever you have 5 men coming in saying, hey, it's 3 to 5, right? No more than 7, because it gets weird. They all have a real agenda. They're all willing to put the work in. They'll do the embarrassing stuff. They're open to talk. They're invested, and nobody's quartered to be there, right? Which is
right. And they got the NDA.
You have to deal with
the NDA is because if you're dealing, like, I think I believe you had said that these are usually like high level execs or some people like that. So the NDA is important. It gives them that litigious push, or that backdrop, if you will, to like, because that's a real thing, man. Like when I was getting clean, I was a complete scumbag, so I didn't have to worry. I didn't have that other life to worry about. Like, everybody just knew I was a scumbag. So, but there's no shortage of people that need help. They need the camaraderie. They need the leadership. They need the coaching, and they're also sitting in the damn, the throne, and they can't let everybody in the organization know that they're vulnerable and they've got these problems. So it's a very important element that you have to the program there, man. It's a very cool addition. Yeah, man. So, all right. So you shed a little bit of light onto what's coming in the near future. But I think you forgot to say November 19th. November 19th
November 19th. The book is being released. You can sign up for coaching right now. September is sold. We're doing October, right? I mean, I take 5 clients at a time. Like, it's not huge by far. And it's coaching, and it's really important to know that. So I tell them, they're like, I'm not your therapist. I'm not your mom. I'm not your wife. I'm a coach. I'm going to tell you what I need you to do. I'm expecting you to get it done, right? And
exactly.
And I do promise that at the end, you're going to feel better.
Oh, you gotta love it.
I can't guarantee that you're going to be sober forever, but I can guarantee if you come in and you do the work and you're open and honest about it, you will feel better about the work that you've done, about your life as a whole.
Well, that's what you're saying about the, not being a therapist or not being like being a coach. And I think that there's so much value in that, man, because, and I'll tell you right now, the biggest differentiation that I've experienced is that a lot of the times the counselors, they don't know what it's like to get popped in Georgia and go sit in a damn tank. They don't know what it's like to wake up and just not know where the hell you're at. Like, they have no idea. Like, they don't know what cocaine smells like. They don't know. And so, like, it's when you have somebody that maybe they lack the official title of a doctor or a therapist or a counselor or a licensed medical counselor, maybe you lack that, but man, you got street cred. And people, we know this, man. Like, people that have walked this walk, we know this. We know when we're talking to somebody that gets it, that knows like where, that it's like, oh shit. Yeah. It's a big deal. And because I got frustrated, like being diagnosed or being told certain things by somebody. And I'm thinking, man, like me and you are two different people. And it makes it hard to get progress with something, without having a bit of rapport in like the most intimate way. Like, oh, wow, you understand.
Right.
So, all right, we're going to go over again. All right. So the book on the 19th, the coaching programs, you're booked up for September, but
I do. We just started taking on sales for October 1st. Right. So we got a session. We meet Tuesdays and Fridays, right? 2 hours at a time. So I've got those slots open in October. If this airs before October and somebody's listening, jump in. But there will be, I run every month. Right.
Right. So what's the best way to get in there? Is there a website or where's the best way to find you?
reclaimsobriety.com.
Reclaimsobriety.com. That's pretty damn simple.
Right now we're promoting the book. Right. So that's the big thing right there. But if you just click the coaching button, you'll learn about the program and you'll get a meeting booked and we'll talk about it and move on from there. Nice.
But that's the best way to reach out. And I'm going to have everything lined up for you, brother, when we do get this thing up and running. And so, I am excited about what's to come, brother. And I honestly, man, like I said earlier in this recording, man, we're cut from the same cloth, and that makes me feel good inside. It makes me not feel like I'm just the only loud guy running his mouth too much on the damn internet. So
absolutely, I understand completely.
All right, well, I thank you so much for being a part of the Next Fix, my man.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, until next time, guys.